Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jack and I am going to read post from AskReddit. This viral post is about the stories of people who are the survivors of comas and what were their experiences while in coma. Had a major open heart surgery, almost died and went into a 2-week coma after resuscitation. Being in the coma felt like sleeping soundly, to be honest. Had an endless series of random dreams. The last dream I had before waking up was that I was riding escalators for way too long, so long that I even thought to myself in the dream, that's strange, why aren't I waking up? I was in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks. All I remember is what it's like when they start pulling you out. I was having very vivid and strange dreams mixed with reality. Then one day I was able to recognize it was now September, but I remembered entering the hospital in August. The worst thing, in my opinion, is the atrophy that happens while you're not moving. I was in a coma for a month and had to build my muscles up to be able to walk and climb steps again. I think I made it from my door to the next one the first time they got me out of bed, and I cried because of the mixture of physical and mental pain. The first time I tried to climb a flight of stairs, I just went at it like normal and was exhausted before coming close to the top. The rehab person had to explain to me that for now it was getting both feet on the step before going for the next one, like how old people climb stairs. It ended up taking over a year before my body was anywhere close to normal. I also had this skin peeling on my hands and feet shortly after I woke up. A motorcycle accident left me in a medically induced coma for about 2 weeks. I had weird dreams. I didn't know what had happened to me until I was woken up. I didn't know time had passed. I still remember the dreams. I was a skeleton with just eyes and I was laying on a mortician table re-watching my past memories on a bunch of televisions above me. I couldn't move. The other one was me frozen in ice watching people walk on top of me but not being able to get their attention. It terrified me just being left there. Wow, that's some next level buried alive type shit with the ice. I could really visualize that and it gave me chills, no pun intended. The skeleton one reminds me of a childhood friend who would always state that he believed when you die your entire life is played in reverse extremely quickly, but you are able to comprehend and analyze it in this moment on a more macro scale, and somehow this answers all of life's questions. He would repeat this theory over and over. Thanks for sharing your stories, glad you are still here to tell them. Cheers. I grew up pretty agnostic, borderline atheist, but these coma dreams gave me more of a spiritual belief. I'm glad I could share. In a coma for 42 days. I don't remember a thing. Did your body feel all weird and weak when you woke up? My first memory after waking was being loaded on an ambulance to go to rehab. I couldn't speak and barely hold a pencil. I instantly knew I was paralyzed but was good with it because my mind was there. My accident happened on May 10th and I've been home for 4 weeks. My son was in a medically induced coma for 11 days following an accident. He remembers nothing of those 12 days, and the 2 weeks following are still hazy after 4 years. He was struck by a speeding car while skateboarding. He suffered a severe traumatic brain injury, jaw broken in 4 places, molars knocked clean out of their sockets, broken clavicle, rib, pelvis, ruptured spleen, carotid arteries nearly ruptured, needed a chest as well as a peg, feeding tube. I'm grateful he has no recollection of any of this. He really isn't angered by the change in his train of thought, speech patterns. It's just that things that get him really angry now. It's like an over-exaggerated reaction to negative stimuli, or stimuli that normally wouldn't cause him any emotional reaction before, now does, and vice versa. Some things he's super nonchalant about now. The self-loathing comes from his physical scars, especially the facial nerve injury. He has regular Botox injections that help give more symmetry to his facial movements. I continue to talk to him about medical advancements, and how soon science will be able to correct the nerve damage. I know it's coming, there are so many advancements. As far as going on with navigating life from here, he has me to learn from. I was victim of an auto accident in 2007. My spine was destroyed in the accident, leaving me physically disabled at 31 years old, through pain spikes that caused me to repeatedly vomit and pass out, to multiple spinal surgeries, and then acute opiate withdrawals. 24 hours after my 3rd spinal surgery, I have been knocked down more times than I can count, but that still doesn't stop me from living my life. I've had to learn to accept my limitations, as I'm helping him to learn to accept his. We can sit here and feel sorry for ourselves, or lament about the what-ifs, but that's not healthy. I know, I spent years in that state. For what it's worth, I'm not a drill sergeant about it. We have our bad days, and we allow ourselves time to process those emotions, allow ourselves some extra care, considerations, and then we get up and push on. Learning from my own disability, if you lay down for too long with conditions such as ours, it's that much harder to get back up. I've lost more than a few friends to depression stemming from an invisible injury, illness. If anything, his accident has caused us to be closer. He does some volunteering, it hard since he works third shift. He likes going to our friends' skate park early Saturday mornings for their kids' camp program. He enjoys helping the lil skaters perfect their technique, offer tips, etc. I've scattered other bits in my replies to other comments. Thank you for all your support and kind words. Healing from this has been an ongoing process that I'm sure is far from over. My sister was in a coma for over a month from a car accident. She was asleep in the backseat on a road trip and her friend flipped the car on the freeway, trying to avoid something on the road by swerving, but in a panic she hit the gas instead of the brake. She had a bruise on her brain which was kinda like her being mentally handicapped, but each day she got better. Now she's completely recovered and back to normal. When she woke up she told us she had a dream where some mystery guy shot her and that's what she thought happened, with no recollection of the car accident. Fucking weird. I was out for 9 days. Coma dreams are intense. Coming back from it was super strange too, a lot of questioning reality. Do you remember any of the dreams? I won the Super Bowl, after one built the arena and had an operation to become a quarterback. Go Cowboys. I created an app that helped you poop. I shot my grandfather dead. I had a vagina surgically tattooed onto the right side of my scrotum. Swallowed a bumper. Like I said. Weird shit. I got in a car accident in 2016. No head trauma, thank God, but I was in and out of consciousness for about a week. I have 3 memories and flashes of asking for water about 1 trillion times. The 3 memories were: my friend Rosa coming to see me. I think I woke up for like a minute and went back to oblivion. Waking up and having a tingling feeling. I fractured 4 or 5 vertebrae and had a burst fracture on my L4 in my right leg, notifying my mum or dad, honestly don't remember, who then got a doctor who promptly told everyone to leave. Then I was back out again. Bitching to my parents about one specific nurse who I blamed for not letting me have water in my haze of drugs. I remember signing some paperwork before going into the first spinal surgery. Release forms and a DNR. I was out for 2.5 days from an unintentional overdose, aka why the pharmacy always asks if you have any questions about that pill nowadays. I have no memory for about a day after waking up, but my family said I had some pretty rough things to say after my eyes opened. 0 would not recommend. I was put into a medically induced coma for a week after I got my shit rocked in a crash. It sucked balls. 1. I could hear what was going on, but had 0 ways to communicate. 2. The hallucinations, nightmares was really fucked, but that's to expected from anyone who goes into a coma due to a traumatic event. And 3. I couldn't tell what was real and what was a dream for a very long time, and still have moments where I have loud and severe auditory hallucinations that convince me I'm back in my non-consensual nap time. Also, something that isn't well known is, after an extended period of strong as shit meds and not moving, besides when the nurses roll you like a Cali roll, your muscles forget how to work. It took me about a month of rehab to get enough strength to lift a large cup of water. But it was absolutely necessary, and although it was scary as shit, I survived my less than 10% survival chance thanks to, and the fucking amazing, strong, and caring nurses and specialists. I was able to return to my babies, and my future husband. Still, 0 would not recommend. I was in a medically induced coma for a week or 2, back in 2008, after going through a 22-hour surgery to remove the tumor from my abdominal area. I ended up spending about 3 months in the surgical ICU recovering from that, before being sent upstairs for 3 more months in the hospital receiving chemotherapy. I still have PTSD today from my time in the ICU. A big part of it was something called ICU delirium. Basically, it's when the bright, always-on lights, constant beeps and odd combinations of medicines mess with your systems and, basically, make you temporarily crazy. I still remember the hallucinations I had there more vividly than dreams I had this week. Ugh. My cousin was hit by a car when he was in his early teens and was in a coma for about 6 weeks. He's in his late 20s now. He lives in a group home, has the mental capacity of child, is prone to, often violent, fits of rage and has very little impulse control. He cannot work a normal job, he will never be able to live alone, he cannot live at home because of his violent rages, not his fault, and will never have a normal life. Comas aren't like the movies. Brain damage is a bitch. I woke up in the hospital 3 days after an unintentional overdose of opiates and benzos. I remember projectile vomiting in my apartment, then waking up 3 days later with my girlfriend by my side. She showed up to find me unresponsive and barely breathing on my couch. As far as the coma itself goes, it was basically like falling asleep and waking up 3 days later. It was initially very confusing. I unfortunately didn't stop using drugs for another year and a half. I fell into a coma after I got very drunk, fell over, cracked my head and had a bleed on my brain, had the last rites said as well. I was out for about 21 hours or so. I remember nothing of the coma, just woke up with no recollection of what happened, was a mixture of very confused, disorientated and had a standard shitty hangover. How do I know I'm not in one right now, and you're my brain messing with me? Not one, but my cousin was in one for a month. He woke up, looked around and began to scream like a lunatic. And saying someone's name. However, after that day of waking up he didn't remember a single thing. The name he was screaming was Anna. And no one there knew who Anna was. The doctors believe it was a deep coma dream. He spent 3 weeks after that shaking. He had a lot of issues walking properly and forming more than 2 sentences without stuttering like crazy. I'm very close with him, and when I ask him about Anna, his mood changes drastically and all he says is, "I don't want to talk about it." Pursuing it further would make him break down crying or make him scream at you. He's a lot better now, other than when he's asked who Anna was. His coma was the result of a car accident. I was in a coma approximately 2 weeks. My medical records say Glasgow coma scale of 7. I don't remember anything. I remember waking up tied down to a bed in a hospital. The nurse told me that I had tried to get up and that if I got up and got hurt he would be responsible. When I had the accident, I had a closed head injury, and I was paralyzed on my right side. That left me tied down for a while until I was transferred to Army Hospital. I had to learn how to walk and talk again. I was able to talk when I woke up, but I was stuttering enough to require speech therapy for a few months. It took a while before I could walk again, and a few months until I could leave the hospital. One of the things I remember was the orientation tests when I woke up. The doctors or nurses ask simple questions like, "What is your name? What day is it? Where were you born? Who is the president?" I believe I may have answered Ronald Reagan, a few years after George H.W. Bush 41 was elected. I have a weird memory of the scene from the movie Born in East LA, where they ask who the president is and he answered that actor. I had went from running 10 miles per day to not being able to walk. My mum said that she had talked to me while I was at St. Joseph Barrow Neurological Hospital, but I only remember the days after I came out of the coma before I was transferred to the Army Hospital. My mum came to the hospital, and she would push me around in the wheelchair. I never regained my physical abilities after the accident. I ride a bicycle a lot, but I never really started running again, and I never regained my strength after the accident. Most people would never notice anything wrong with me, but there was enough damage for me to be medically retired from the Army. It has been 30 years since the accident, so don't remember the details that well. I was about 7 when it happened. I was playing around on a swing and apparently fell over and hit my head, also swallowed my tongue in the process. Fortunately, people around were quick to react. Somebody reached down my throat and took out my tongue and called an ambulance. I don't really remember it all that, I just remember waking up at the hospital the next day. My mother was standing next to me, and as I woke up she started asking me questions like about what my name was or what her name was. I remember being really confused. I was like, "Mum, what sort of silly question is that?" Turns out, I've woken up at some point in the ambulance and had no idea who my mum and dad were, as they were in the ambulance with me. Definitely not a fun experience, but the worst part was that the doctors said I couldn't eat chocolate for like a month after that. That's it, folks. Thank you for listening to the stories. Please like the video and subscribe to my channel for more daily videos like this.